Hey guys, this is Damned here, welcoming you to another video on the MoreCore rule set. The MoreCore rule set is a generic rule set. It's designed to add a whole stack of features to the core RPG rule set to make it a lot easier for you to run all those other game systems that aren't supported by Fantasy Grounds with the dedicated rule set. MoreCore's grown up over quite a period of time. It's up to version 1.44. Yeah, that's 44 different release versions of MoreCore over time. So we'll start with the campaign setup screen. This is something that was added a couple of versions ago in Core RPG or in Fantasy Grounds Engine, and it's this campaign setup window here. You can see there's a bunch of Core RPG links here, but there's also a stack of MoreCore ones as well. So we've got the Fantasy Grounds user manual, the wiki user guides, that's a website link. Forums is a website link to the Fantasy Grounds forums. Then we've got the basic MoreCore guide, and that's a online user guide that's really useful in terms of just giving you a basic overview of the features of MoreCore. Sometimes it's a little bit lagging behind as we constantly updating the MoreCore rule set, so we try and keep it as close to up to date as possible. Then we've got a bunch of video links, including this video out there on YouTube. Check that one out. There's several other videos. Some of them are older, and again, sometimes there's a feature gap between what you see in the video and what you see in the actual rule set. The MoreCore themes is a bunch of themes that have been put together for MoreCore. Some of them are graphical themes only, and while some of them have a bunch of extra code customizations added to them to make them work even better for that particular rule set. And MoreCore games, again, a link to the forums where people have actually packaged up a bunch of information for a game system built on MoreCore. So we've got the City of Mist, there's also a bunch of information there for Dungeon World, and there's a couple of others as well, so really handy, worth looking at. A few other places we've added help links. You can see here in the chat window, you can click on this link, and again it'll take you to the MoreCore user guide. And if you're in game later on and you need that link, you just type /MoreCore help, and you'll get this link here again, taking you to the user manual again. So if we have a look at the interface itself, there's various places in the game system you can see these little question marks, and they're context sensitive help. Some of these will go to the Fantasy Grounds versions of the help file, such as this one for the character selection screen, whereas if you click on the character sheet itself, the MoreCore link here will take you directly to the user guide, but to the character sheet section of that user guide. And we've got a bunch of those in other sections like roles. If you click here, it'll take you to a list of all the roles available in MoreCore, and there's quite a few of them now, and those 60 roles or whatever number of roles are there, they support many hundreds of different gaming systems. A couple of new campaign tools that we've added into this version of MoreCore. We've got locations. Locations is a campaign management tool for those of you that like world building, or if you're running longer running campaigns and you like to keep all these things really organized. You can see here we've got a location called Border Town, and it's currently locked, so it's in reading mode, so you can see a bunch of information here about it. We can unlock this and edit these. So okay, we've got a bit of a typo here, we can do that. We might also drag an image in here for this town. Got a picture of Border Town in here, simply drag it in, done. It's as easy as that. You can do all your other editing here, text editing. You can use your title fonts, you can have chat text if that was appropriate, bullet points. You can even put tables in here and define tables, not rollable tables, but data presentation tables. So a whole bunch of information here. You can drag most types of content into most of these fields. So I'm going to lock this up again and we'll quickly read through it. These are not obligatory. The headings here are designed as prompts to help you flesh it out, and some of the prompts won't apply to your particular location. Ignore them. So we've got up here in location. Now you could, if we created a location called the Duchy of Gabon, we could have dragged that in here as well. Now the links are one way. If I have a location called the Duchy of Gabon and I drag it in here, it doesn't automatically link it back the other way. Nice feature. We might look at doing that at a later date. We could type, this is freeform text, you can use whatever types make sense to you. Sci-fi, futuristic, modern, historical, they're all going to have different types of types for locations. But town could be shop, could be a region. There's various different things you could have. It could be a natural setting like a forest or a river crossing. You can be as specific or as broad as you like. Demographics, you can the population, languages. And again, you could, if you've got all these fleshed out, you can simply drag links in for these. Economy, government. This town owes fealty to the Duke of Gabon. Elected mayor every 2 years, Olgak. I think he's been running a bit of a scam, and he's got his claws firmly entrenched in that mayoral position. Major gods worshipped include, now these again, they could be links, they could be links to notes or links to story text, they could be links to images. Now major NPCs, so we've got Olgak, he's the mayor of the town, links to his character sheet, and we get Sergeant Griff, the head of the town militia. Another major NPC is the Magister Shivani. We've got a couple of locations we've added in here, the Drunken Orc Tavern. For some reason the N has been truncated off there. Let's put that back in. And we've got the Market Square. Why don't we put the Squealing Pig Ale House in here as well, and we can lock that back up. Let's look at the town image. Okay, there's a bit of an image of Bordertown. You might have a town map in there. You might have various different images there, a top-down view, view of some major locations in the town, whatever worked for you. So locations, nice and handy. The other one is organizations. So we've got two organizations here. We've got the Hand of Grimtooth, and it looks like this is a band of orcish thugs and mercenaries, and they're in conflict with the halfling smuggler band known as the Weary Feet. There's a freeform text field here, and so I dragged a link in here, the Weary Feet, to make it easier for the GM to link those together. Type, again, freeform. This particular type is a gang. Their purpose, basically making money, smuggling, intimidation, highway robbery, alignments. Alignments may or may not play a role in your particular campaign. Ignore it if it doesn't. And leaders, the two brothers Fusu and Barbaros are the leaders of this particular gang, and I've just dragged in a generic senior thug in here as one of the NPCs. And the locations there can often be found at the Squealing Pig Ale House. If you checked out the other tavern in town, which was called the Drunken Orc Tavern, turns out the orcs are no longer welcome in the Drunken Orc Tavern, probably because it's run by a halfling. Anyway, lock these. Again, if you click the context sensitive help on these, it'll go straight to the organization's help or the location's help in the MoreCore user guide. So nice and handy. These can also be dragged in as pins on maps. So let's do locations and images. We've got the Bordertown image here, and if we wanted to, this is the Squealing Pig Ale House. We've got a pin now on the map here, and the Drunken Orc Tavern just down the street from it. So we're going to have plenty of conflict there after dark in the town, and the Market Square. Maybe it's down that way, so you can put all your pins on the maps just like you can with other types of pins. So nice and handy. If we have a look at some of the other items here. So again, we've got we look in the library. We've got abilities. Again, there'll be some context sensitive help. No, it's not. That'll be coming soon. So abilities is another MoreCore feature for the character sheet. And okay, so that's it for the context sensitive help, we might now look at options. If we have a look in options, we've added a couple of new options for initiative and into the rule set most recently. A lot of games don't have a strict initiative. They use the GM basically asks a particular character or player what they do next, and other characters may, if the story permits it, interject at that stage, so it's a lot more freeform. And if we're not using initiative in our combat tracker, so we can see here that the current initiative is, or order in this case, is we've got Gavril over at top with 5. If we wanted to have no initiative, we can turn initiative off here. We've got a choice of GM and player or off. For initiative, we also need to, there's a core RPG one, and it is show turn order. We need to turn that off. By default that's on, so we turn that off, and we would turn off initiative down here in the MoreCore, and let's reload that. Now, combat tracker in Fantasy Grounds, the GM and the players often have different views. The GM can see things like the hit points and attacks of the NPCs, whereas the players can't, which is, makes sense. So we can see here that the order field has disappeared, and we've also got from our options an option here called manual turn tracker, and it's currently set to GM only. We've got GM and player and off. Now, in a lot of games where it's storytelling based, you'd use GM only, and it's really there as a prompt for the GM to remind the GM who has and who hasn't acted. So we might just drag a couple of NPCs in here, and we might create another quick character. Gabon the Duke has come to play. And we'll put Gabon into the combat tracker, and we can see this little widget to the bottom left of the portraits. That is the manual turn tracker. If I hover over it, it says this actor has yet to act, whereas Gavrilova has already acted. Now, this is storytelling. We might get everybody might have acted except for Gabon, and Gavrilova may act again, and Olgak may act again before Gabon acts, just in terms of the story. But sometimes we have a table, particularly say for a one-shot, or where we've got a new player to the hobby who's joined that table, and they're a little unsure, they're a little quiet, and they don't get as involved as some of the other players. And this allows the GM, it's a good visual prompt for the GM, hey, Gabon hasn't acted yet, make sure you include Gabon in the story. Call on Gabon specifically. Gabon, Sergeant Griff stares at you with his red bloodshot eyes and challenges you under his breath. You might utter something like that. Then what do you do, Gabon? And draw Gabon back into the story. Once he's acted, or once you've done that, you can tick it, and then that all the actors have participated in the story. You want to clear these, simple down here, and it clears who has acted, and we can continue on and start again. So you might see again that at the conclusion of the last combat, that everybody had acted again except for Gabon. Gabon again sort of was quiet and sitting in the corner. You might ensure that the next combat scene includes or revolves centered around Gabon, to keep Gabon as part of the story, keep him involved and draw him into the game more. So we'll look at some of the other combat options. We'll turn initiative back on. Now, some of these initiative options require a reload of the game, of the campaign, for the changes to take effect. I'm just looking for show turn order. So we're showing turn order for both the player and then for the GM over here. This one we're going to do a quick reload, and turn will reappear back in the combat tracker options. Give that a sec to finish loading. And we can see that order is now present again. Gabon doesn't have an initiative. Let's go back into, so Gabon would normally roll his own initiative here, and they can do that by rolling an initiative die and dragging that result into their initiative, and Gabon has currently got the highest initiative, so Gabon would go first in that situation. What we're going to have a look at here, though, we've got in our options, we can choose between, okay, the default, no, when the Gabon's acting first, I roll a d20 for him instead of everyone else's d10. But if we have a look in here, we've got all the different dice. We've got d4, d0, we'll come back to that one in a sec, d10, d100, d20, d12, d10's in there twice because d10 is set as the default option if you don't choose a different one. So we've got various different initiative dice. If we've got d6 and we click this, it should reroll everyone's dice except it's still pulling. Why did Gavrilova get to 15 when the initiative dice is 6? Let's reroll it again. She's still... Let's have a quick peek at Gavrilova. Aha! So Gavrilova has another feature which we'll check it out in a minute. She's got an initiative bonus. So let's reroll her again. Okay, 6, 4, 2, 1, perfect. Everyone's using d6. Let's jump it up to maybe d100. We'll get some big variations in scores here. Now, the initiative bonus, lots of games, you might have high dexterity or some other reason why you get an initiative bonus. So if Gavrilova has a +5 in here, we'll set the initiative down to something more manageable, like a d10, roll everyone's initiative. Gavrilova's going to tend to be towards the top more often than not. But we also have some games where particular types of actors, or even everybody, has a fixed initiative score. So what we do there is set the initiative down to 0, and we would, if we re-roll this, Gavrilova's the only one got initiative score. Let's say Gabon, he's also a PC, so he gets an initiative of 5. The major named NPCs, they might get initiatives of 3, so we just use the bonus field here, and Mooks, they all get initiative of 1. And when we re-roll that now, we see no matter how many times we re-roll that, everyone will stay in the same order. So different types of initiative options there for different types of game systems again. And then one last one, you'll notice that this re-roll initiative re-rolls everyone's initiative. Of course, we're on the D0. Let's put it back to D10, so we get a few bouncing scores. We've got the hand here that resets initiative, and it resets it for everyone. And we've got another one here, PC NPC reroll initiative options, currently set to reroll both, and we can change it to reroll the NPC and the reset the PC. So if we set it to that one, the NPCs will get their initiative rerolled each time, but the PCs can reroll their own initiative, and they do that. So some players are pretty precious about their initiative and they don't trust random dice. They have to throw the dice themselves, so you can set it so that they can roll their own dice using this particular one. So these extra initiative options really open up the order and initiative to a whole bunch of new game systems. What next? Okay, we also have some new fields on the character sheet. We took away some of the fields at the top of the screen here and moved them into the notes field, things like race, gender, age, height, weight, and level. And by doing that, we also had enough room to put experience fields in here as well. It also gave us some extra lines in the attack field, which was handy for a lot of people. But what we did with the experience and experience required was we linked these into the party sheet. So party sheet's another great campaign tool. It handles multiple. It's got lots of different things, but what we added in here was the XP tracking field. Now we've taken this from other game systems, so you can see here that Gavrilova, her current XP is 500, and to get to the next level she needs 1000 experience points, and this is tracking neatly in here. Now we can have several different ways of awarding experience. The GM can simply add in the figure here, the players can add in figures here, but you might have an encounter with an experience value, and let's put these in here, and let's put Sergeant Cliff in there, and this encounter, we can put it in here, and we can say that this encounter is worth 2000 XP, and it will now, when we award this, if we if we award this, we click the award button, and each of the actors here in the party sheet will receive 1000 experience points each, and it will now say that it has been awarded. And we can see that Gavrilova has now got 1500 experience out of 1000 that she's required, so she would level up. She would consult her character guide and find that she needs 2500 experience points for her next level, and it's done so. Still, it's not automated because every game system is different, so I can't automate that process for everybody, but we've given you more tools to manage and track that information. These fields here, are not appropriate for every particular game. You can create an extension and you can modify these labels quite easily. A feature that we added into the game system some time ago was the hero points, and we added in a new feature just now to help the GM with visual tracking of the hero points. So I'm going to let's join a game here first. And with our new game that's loading up, we're going to grab those two characters, make them ours, just so that they're owned. Now we can see that Gabon and Gavrilova are in the game. Now if I give Gavrilova 3 hero points, they now show up on her portrait. And Gabon, give him 1 hero point, and he's got 1, so you can see the little widget appears on their icon showing them the number of hero points that they've got. In fact, Gabon's are not hero points, Gabon's are luck points, and Gavrilova's are story points. You can change whatever, you can call these whatever you like, and so we like that. Now during the game, Gavrilova needs to re-roll a die or add a new element into the story. She simply double clicks this and it reports Gavrilova is using a story point, and it decrements here too, and it also shows up here that Gavrilova has spent them, so everybody gets to see what's going on there. And if somebody starts sneaking a few extra points along the way, somebody might just notice that. And we can see that when Gavrilova spent them, they were story points, and when Gabon spent them, they were luck points. So the game system reports that information quite clearly, so that's nice and handy. They're the main new features that were added into this particular build of Fantasy Grounds, or of MoreCore, sorry. And as always, we've added a bunch of new roles to the game system. There's a whole stack of them now. I think Power and Perils, Tiny RPG, and some damage dice for the Conan 2D20 game with the most recently added ones, but there've been a stack of other dice rolls added in between. I did the rolls video and today's video. Please download it, give it a try. You're going to have to experiment a little bit with it, see how the best ways to input rolls are for your group, and test it out, try it out, make suggestions, ask questions, and we're always here to help. Hope you really enjoy it, and I hope you're getting lots of gaming in.